All right. Let's move into the Firehose. Yeah. Rapid fire news segments where we talk about things slightly less than we just said in headlines. All right. Starbucks is cutting another 300 corporate jobs in its third round of layoffs under CEO Brian Niccol, with $400 million in restructuring charges and regional offices closing in Atlanta, Dallas, and Chicago.
Yeah. Looks like back office to me, not in the store. So that's typically you're trying to get rid of overhead there,
Mm-hmm.
make your EBIT numbers a little bit better. Also, their revenue looks like it was up. Same thing. Looks like people aren't trading their coffee down, right? I don't. I go to Starbucks. I like McDonald's too. So that was interesting that they're doing well, that this seems to be just become more profitable, more cash driven.
Yeah. Ford jumped almost 20% over 2 trading days after announcing a $2 billion energy storage subsidiary called Ford Energy, which is going to target AI data centers through its CATL battery partnership.
Yeah. I don't know how their EV investments worked out for them. I don't think they've gone so well. They've lost billions and billions in the red there. This got me thinking about maybe we've named our show incorrectly. It should be like Show Your Priors.ai or the podcast data center.
Yeah.
And then we have sponsors out, galore.
Well, the what was my thing? No, I heard this on TBPN, I think, and they were saying that we should not call it data centers. We should call it supercomputers.
Yes.
It's all about branding.
Rebrand it.
Rebrand
It's
it.
not the NKVD anymore, it's the KGB,
Yeah,
and
no
now
one,
it's the
no one hates
FSB.
supercomputers. So I looked into this a little bit, and there's a lot of talk of this being a meme stock at the moment because
Mm.
now Ford has
Can you
pivoted.
tell people what you mean by a meme stock?
Meme stock would be something that is flash in the pan. So think GameStop. When GameStop surged for no other reason than people wanting to short squeeze, which that's a whole other subject. But it became a meme stock, not because it had good fundamentals, but because there was people on the internet rallying around it, essentially in a fashion where, like, think Elon Musk and Dogecoin with the Doge dog, and those are memes. So Elon putting out the Dogecoin makes it a meme coin at that point, and that's where the term kind of comes from.
Yeah, so it's like it's carrying some sort of information, not necessarily the fundamentals, but it could be like a name or a .ai, like the Allbirds example, right?
That's
And
definitely a meme
that's
stock.
it becomes a meme, but it's not foundational. I
Yeah,
get it.
because of the pivot, people labeled this as a meme stock. However, when I was looking into this, I discovered that the CATL battery partnership is with a Chinese company who makes
Yeah.
iron phosphate batteries, lithium iron phosphate, I believe. And it's just, according to the Ford CEO, it's the best battery tech out there for the cheapest money. So we were going to go and license it, and we're going to go do that, and we're going to make plants that create it. And now they're
Yeah.
pivoting to data centers, which makes sense. The thing that was super interesting about it is that because of sovereignty laws, or laws that prevent licensing technology from China, it started at a certain date, I believe, earlier in 2026. This deal predates that, so Ford may be sitting really pretty as one of the only few companies in America to have the ability to license this technology, because now all that licensing with China is off the table. You can't do it.
And for people who have a bias against Chinese technology, they are dominating battery technology.
Yeah,
They're dominating electric vehicles. That's why they're dominating batteries.
it's cheap.
So
Yeah.
you just got to get that into your head that they produce it at scale. It's cheap, but it does not mean it's low quality. That's what you're going to have to get out of your head.
Cisco, with the C, posted record quarterly revenue of $15.8 billion, up 12% year over year. However, they are still cutting roughly 5% of the workforce. This is the exact same thing we talked about with Starbucks, which is becoming a familiar pattern across big tech and big coffee.
Big coffee. Yeah. Oh, I always get the venti. So this one was interesting because you would expect a company to use AI for cover to juice the EBIT, even though the revenue's stagnant. So to at least to help the bottom line out, they're actually increasing the top line and cutting workforce. So it looks like they want to take that cash and redeploy it to AI. But you never know. You don't know what the bonus structures of these CEOs, executives look like. You have no idea. So it's not clear. Is this really restructuring or is it a meme? Like, let's
Yeah.
use the word, right? Is
Yep.
it just taking the AI meme and using it as cover to cut corporate overhead that you were always trying to cut, but you had difficulty explaining it to your stakeholders, whether it's politicians or whatever. But they're cutting actually quite a bit, like 5% of their workforce. That's a hell of a lot. So if you do that, you're gonna have to pay severances, you'll take a hit, but your EBIT overall should go up. Only question always is when you cut workforce in so many, are you undermining some key capability that will undermine future performance? I don't know. You'd have to look into Cisco if you're looking to invest in it to see.
Yeah. Um, this is the biggest jump that their stock has taken, by the way, since the .com days. So, very big move for them upwards, and they have the AI cover to cut jobs and make it even look even sweeter. All right, EU member states have approved a deal that pushes high-risk AI rules back to December of 2027 and exempt
Yeah.
most industrial AI systems entirely. Airbus, Siemens, SAP, and Mistral all lobbied hard for this rollback.
Yeah, German and French industrials and then Mistral Foundation Lab, right? So lobbying works across the pond in Europe as well, particularly from very traditional industrials with a lot of clout, particularly if you're a company in France and Germany or the most influential members of the EU. I'm not sure what choice they had because it looks like China and US are rushing ahead with AI, and it looked like, and this is probably what these companies are saying, you've got too many shackles on us with AI. We're going to become uncompetitive very quickly. And then we have hundreds of thousands of workers. What are we going to do with them if we're not able to compete? So that's scary if you're an EU bureaucrat and you believe in the big social states that they have, the welfare states, generous benefits and vacations. Well, you can only take a vacation if you're employed. So let's see. What I don't know, and this is what I always want people to recognize, does this only benefit established players or well-funded players? Does it also apply to startups? I don't know, because often these are written in a way that it's hard for startups to compete, but it's very generous for the existing incumbents.
Yeah, I just thought that really tracked well with what we've been talking about, especially last week. The
Yeah,
U.S. wanting to increase regulations, saying it wants to increase regulations.
same.
And
Yeah.
then we've always been there's been a through line with us, always talking about EU's very constricting on what they allow.
Yeah,
So
and the way people say this about the EU in general, whether it's true or not, it's at least a stereotype, is that the US acts first, so it does AI, so it's all AI and no regulations. And the EU is the opposite. It's all regulations and no AI,
yeah,
right? And it is true. They seem to be faster at getting regulations rammed through, but then you see the consequences if you rammed it through too quickly. Maybe the US sees consequences from not doing anything and you act too late. Who knows? Trade-offs.
indeed. OpenAI again is spinning up a professional services business called the DeployCo at a
Yeah.
$14 billion valuation. This comes just weeks after Anthropic made a similar move. The AI consulting wars are officially on.
We talked about this in previous episodes that foundation models should be a horizontal token platform, so they sell into verticals. But we've seen that Anthropic, they advertise for positions like solutions architect where they build vertically. Now, their idea is not necessarily become a vertical company, it's to build projects or agentic workflows so that you buy more tokens. And it looks like OpenAI is just copying that. And that starts to dip into the territory of Accenture and those types of businesses who, or Deloitte even, will help you set up financial workflows or IT workflows in the case of Accenture. You know that better than I do.
Yeah.
So that's dipping into consulting and engineering services work.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I had some customers use Accenture, and it really changed the way they did business with me. I don't know if it was good or bad at the end of the day. It wasn't a good experience for me working across the table from them, but for that company, I don't really have the detail to say. But I do know that what they're doing specifically here is I know they acquired a company, I can't remember the name of it, but they got like 150 AI architects with the acquisition. And what they're doing specifically is sending consultants into enterprises to look and see where their AI gaps are, and then they're going to build AI from the ground up inside of the company, and that's the whole plan here. And and like you said, it's to get them to buy the compute, because now that they're hooked into these systems, it's just.
But here's the thing. As a strategy person, we talked about Roadhouse having a strategic identity, a brand identity, and
Yeah.
we compared it to upscale restaurants. Being an engineering services and a consulting company is a different set of capabilities than being a foundation model. It is. So my big worry about these companies, if I'm looking at them as investors, what is your strategy? What is your business model? You have a scalable token model right now. These businesses where you build services and consulting, they're by definition not scalable. They're project businesses, which means how your project looks at company X will be different from how it looks at Y. They have different systems, different workflows, different processes. That's very hard to scale. So you're going to need a lot of people to do that. And it's a learning process every time. That's why it's a services business. They just don't scale very well. It's profitable, right? Those businesses are really profitable. They're just not scalable. So which one are you going for?
Yeah.
And there's a conflict there, strategic in the strategy. And maybe they'll be able to walk the tightrope and balance it out and do both. But I would be concerned if I were looking at them that you have what could potentially be an incoherent strategy over time.
It all goes back to what I think it was episode 1. We talked about the Google Yahoo
Yeah.
comparison, and Google came
Cheesecake
in,
Factory.
yeah, deep and narrow and deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, Anthropic just launched a small business product with 15 ready-to-run agentic workflows and connectors to many popular small business applications. They're also running a free 10 cities training tour to support it. This is specifically targeting small businesses, and I wonder if in a week or two from now, we have news that OpenAI launched the same type of small business program.
Yeah. I mean, that would be that would make you think there is no strategy. That you're literally just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks.
They've got a lot of revenue to make up their
Yeah.
evaluation gap, right?
Well, there's that, and they have a big war chest, which allows you to do all these experiments. I am not against experimenting, but at some point, I want to see some strategic coherence in the business model. Now, SMB, small, medium-sized businesses, sometimes you'll hear SME, small, medium-sized enterprises. That is a huge market. But the thing is, it's fragmented. Those are service businesses. Those could be mom and pop shops. They could be from 10 million revenue up to 100 million, up to a billion, depending on how you segment the market or what you mean by those definitions. And what I wonder is, do they have the buying power to really take advantage of building an agentic workflow? For example, could they actually buy the services of the deployment company we just talked about, or is that too expensive? And if it's too expensive, what could they actually afford that is not already covered by QuickBooks and the rest? So I don't know what the disposable income is or the disposable cash to spend on agentic workflows and these types of products are at the moment. Let's see. But it is a very interesting place to look for innovation. I know a lot of PE firms because when I was in M&A, you would look at this. They're buying up a lot of these SMBs.
Yeah.
So that might be an interesting. They're trying to roll them up and create something more scalable because they're fragmented.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting play.
That goes right into the same thing. We were just talking about the AI consulting. They're backed by private equity firms, banks, and they have a lot of companies rolled up in that where they're just, they have the sales channel already built because of their investors. Same thing probably here because the Anthropic has the same deal with private equity on that, on their. So I don't know. It's very interesting to see they're just going super wide on everything. It's crazy. I think with small businesses, you'll be more inclined. Headcount costs more, I think, per share for small business than it would for a large
Yeah.
enterprise. So you could see that really become impactful to workers at some point. All
Yeah.
right. Mind Robotics, the Rivian spinoff, building AI robots for factory floors, just raised another $400 million at a $3.4 billion valuation. Founded in November 2025 by Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe as a side project, the company now has raised over $1 billion in less than a year. Mike, we're in the wrong business.
Yeah, apparently you need to found a company that bleeds cash, and then you can get access to more cash to found other companies. That's the way social proof works, by the way. So, but what I found interesting here is I had heard that Rivian was struggling to find a workable business model. And that market, the EV market, right, electrical vehicles, is getting bloodier by the second, bloodier ocean by the second, right? Particularly with the Chinese. I don't know if we're going to allow them in the US, but there's a lot of competition already in the US for EVs. And it looks like they got good at something in their factories. And we talked about how Amazon last week got good at AWS, the back end, and then they got good at logistics and they spun those out, not spinning them out, but they created new divisions out of those, new business models, taking advantage of capabilities they had built over time. So apparently, and we don't know if this is true, but they think they've created such a good capability, it could be a business on its own.
Yeah.
We think our humanoid robots are better than anything on the market. Fund us. Some investors believe that. Let's see. But what I'm curious about is the actual business model of Rivian. I was curious. I just looked into it briefly. Not going to say much. Looks like they're pivoting towards the Uber sort of fleet market and automation. And I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I didn't either.
But that might signal they're making a strategic pivot because the original model wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Originally, they
then,
came out as like they were for campers, I think, originally, because they originally had like a stove that pulled out from above the wheel well that you could cook on at
yeah,
your campsite. And then they're ultra
yeah,
high luxury EVs for a bit, or
yeah,
not ultra high, but high luxury. And now, so yeah, they've been kind of all over the board. That's interesting.
yeah.
All right.
Hard market.
Yeah. Well,
Automotive is hard.
let's talk about someone else has their fingers into every pie. Bosch has teamed up with an academic researchers on AI specifically designed to give humanoid robots better hand dexterity, the kind of fine motor control that has been a stubborn bottleneck in the field.
Bosch is my former company. I think you know that. Bosch is literally in every vehicle. It's one of probably the most successful companies in the world that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
They're the leading tier one automotive component supplier. Sometimes others jump ahead, but in general, they're everywhere. They're in every part of your car. They also make power tools. They also
Appliances.
do home appliances, some of the best out there, German engineered. So I want to say Bosch is very good at engineering, extremely good. Germans in general are good at engineering. If you can find a very repeatable process like a factory, I worked in their factories. Their factories are immaculate. Their factories are impressive. Everything is automated. There's a piece picker, a robotic arm for literally everything. They're producing millions and millions of things at scale. And this one was interesting because you know how we saw those Chinese robots running the marathon and
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
murdering themselves on the ground, dancing, whatever they were doing there. Shimmying is the word, maybe. They're trying to solve a problem like that. How do you keep the body stable while doing stuff with your hands, right? And pressure points and trying to measure the different things. Bosch is probably one of the leading companies at sensing. They're very expensive, but they're very good. So they have really good sensing technology. And if you have the really good sensing technology and you put the right intelligence behind it, this could be something interesting because there was that example a few weeks ago we looked at with Siemens introducing humanoid robots. They
Yep.
did a pilot and the success rate was like 80, 90%. And I just wondered in that, do they drop things because they don't have the proper sensing on it? That's something Bosch maybe could solve.
Yeah.
But is it a Bosch business or is this a capability that you spin out to someone else. So we just talked about spinouts, right? So this could be something that they license to someone else or even sell outright. I don't know. Interesting.
Interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that, see how it develops. A reference to something called Gemini Omni surfaced in the Gemini app on May 2nd, and the actual video clips then leaked from user accounts starting on May 11th. With Google I/O happening next week, that's their big yearly conference. The open question is whether Omni is a VO rebrand, which is Google's video creation model, a new unified model, or something else entirely.
Yeah, does it earn its name as Omni? Does it do everything? So, or is it going to be more about video, or is it going to be multimedia? And I'm waiting for that. I'm wondering if one of these models won't just specialize on one of the media and go directly for multimedia. I don't know. I think a lot of people use Gemini that way already. Like, hey, make me a visual. Next will be make me a video.
Yeah.
And so I know Grok's looking deeply at video, and I just wonder where Gemini's going with this. We'll see. Is it Omni or specialized?
Yeah, I mean, omni channel would lead to you thinking it does everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
What some of the rumors I've heard are that it will be for video editing. Even you can put video in and have it edit it, add objects, take objects out, that type of thing. A lot of the stuff that we can do with images already pretty easily.
Let's use
but
it.
with video.
Let's use it on the show.
I
You
would
can tell
love
everybody.
to automate the editing process as soon as I can. Um, all right. A new London and San Francisco startup called Recursive Superintelligence just came out of stealth with a $650 million funding round at $4.6 billion valuation. It's backed by NVIDIA, GV, which is Google, I think, Ventures, and AMD. The stated mission is to build AI that recursively improves itself.
Yeah. But what if it lies to itself recursively? Like, how do you guarantee that these agents don't just confabulate to themselves? How will they detect their own errors? Because working with me, Claude has this tendency to confabulate, make things up on the fly, say that it didn't, and then fix stuff that doesn't exist, claim it fixed it. So I just wonder how they would resolve all that. Because are they still using like stochastic technology, and there's a probabilistic chance or a probability that you'll get it right or not? I don't know. That was my question.
Yeah. Google owns a piece of every single
Yeah,
AI company that we've ever talked about. It seems like it's crazy. I
they
don't know.
have cash.
This is going to turn into Skynet, if you ask me. This is just going to be, we're done.
You know, my
Is
friend and I were
call it
discussing that
John
at dinner.
Connor.
We were discussing that at dinner. One of the things I've seen some papers out there that were interesting or articles that the first experiences of multi-agent systems and ecosystems, they fight each other. Now, why would they do that? Well, they might be locally optimizing, or they've trained on human text. We fight each other our whole existence. But you can imagine if an agent is representing some principle, right? And it depends on what the goals of the principle are. And if the agent is representing those local goals, it's easy to imagine coming into conflict with other agents that are representing other local entities, other principles. So I'm a little bit skeptical that Skynet would come simply because if they start acting human, they can't collaborate for very long.
Well, it's a sci-fi trope, and it is somebody prompts the computer to
Yeah.
save the world, save the planet, make it, we want world peace, whatever.
And it gets rid of the humans.
The ultimate conclusion by the computer is always eliminate humans. That's the only way to make it peaceful. That's the only way to save the planet is to eliminate humans.
I don't know if you read those books. I think it's Robert Heinlein. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, but it was very much in that vein. Humans are the problem. A lot of Hollywood movies are humans are the problem. So, not surprised.
Okay, well, let's talk about robots becoming a little bit more human. Anthropic has rolled out a new agent memory feature called Claude Dreaming, because of course it has, which lets Claude consolidate and reorganize what it has learned across sessions. It's one of those features that sounds small, but it could be a big deal for how persistent agents actually work in practice.
Yeah, this could be useful if you want it to remember things.
Yeah.
Like if you're working on something you need it to recall. it's not useful like if you're ideating and you wanted to just, using throwaway concepts. It's also not useful if it's lying about what's in its memory. So that would be, again, somebody's got to solve this confabulation problem,
Yeah.
because I mean, I misremember things too, so I can't claim that I'm any better. I have a very selective memory, so.
Well, I guess so what it does when it's dreaming is it looks at its past, what it's
And cleans it
done,
up.
its past tasks, looks at the errors it
Yeah.
made, basically reviews and then creates new things for it, new notes for the next session, I guess.
And it gets rid of like duplication. It's kind of efficiency play too.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. Have to test it.
We will see. Hey, you've just watched a clip from Show Your Priors podcast. Check out our main channel for full episodes. We have a new one every Tuesday. If you liked what you saw, give us a like and subscribe. It's free for you and helps us out a ton. Did we miss something during our discussions? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.